All right, so quiz number 5, review. We have some sketching we have to do. Okay, some stuff that we have to do with pictures. We have some working together problems, and then we have some of the stuff we did yesterday, which was the radical stuff. Okay, so the nth roots and stuff like that. So we'll start off with the drawing, the sketching part. I am going to need a coordinate plane, so let me go ahead and do that. So make sure it's in black, and remember, we're just sketching this, okay? We're not trying to make it too exact. We're going to draw basically our asymptotes and then use the asymptotes to help us get the picture of the graph that we want, okay? So here we go. I'm just kind of putting the tick marks on these. So if you guys remember, the way you graph these is you want to find your HK, all right? So I'll put that right here. You want to find your HK, and then you're going to figure out whether your A is positive or negative, okay? So that's basically the way I'm going to start it, HK and then A is. Now my HK is what? You guys remember? Is what? Close. 3 and 2, right? The opposite of H and then K, right? So positive 3 and 2. So positive 3 and 2. And A is what? Well, it's my 2 value, right? So it's positive. So that means my graph looks normal, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to 3, 2. I'm going to put a little tiny dot at 3, 2. Nothing too noticeable. So just really small. You can kind of see it right there, right? And I'm going to make my horizontal and vertical asymptotes go through that. So here we go. Here's my horizontals, and here's my vertical. Notice how both of these lines cross each other at 3, 2, okay? They're crossing each other at 3, 2. And since this is a positive A, then the graph looks like this. And that's it. I'm done. Notice my line's a little crooked on the left side of that vertical line, but it's okay. I didn't touch the red line, right? You're not supposed to touch that red line. So as long as you don't touch it and you're pretty close to it, it's fine. If it's a little crooked, I'm not going to mark you off, okay? Even I can't draw a perfectly nice curve. So that's fine, okay? Don't freak out. Just don't cross the red line. Like, don't draw like this, because then I'm going to mark you off, because you're not supposed to cross that red line, okay? So are we okay with that one? Pretty easy. There's going to be 4 problems like this. I'm doing 2 because one I'm going to have A be positive, and then the other one A will be negative. So you can see it right here. So let me do another coordinate plane here. The reason why I never have these things pre-drawn is because then I'll get to work too fast. By me having to draw it, it makes me kind of wait while you guys copy down the question and do one yourself. So, or else I'd be rushing through it right now. So there's my coordinate plane, my function f of x equal to negative 3 over x plus 2. Again, you want to write down your h and your k. So hk is and a is, right? What is my hk for this one? Negative 2 and 0, yeah. Because the k isn't there, so negative 2, 0. And my a is, I kind of said it earlier, it's negative, right? So it kind of flips it, all right? I'm still going to go to negative 2, 0, negative 2, 0. I'm going to put a little dot there. It's going to be kind of hard to see, but I'll put it at negative 2, 0. I'm going to put a little tiny dot. And I'm going to draw a vertical and horizontal line through those. Okay, so here we go. And then this one right here. Normally, it's supposed to look like this. Don't draw this, okay? It's supposed to look something like that. Normally, if A is positive. But we're going to flip it since A is negative. So it's going to look like this and like this. And that's it. We're done. So we have 4 of these things, okay? We're going to do 4 of them. there'll be 2 positive ones, there are going to be 2 negative ones on your quiz, okay? I'll let you finish that up. All right, so let's move on here. Any questions before I do that, though? So we're good. Now for these, I'm going to recommend that maybe you don't write the whole problem down. That way we can make sure we finish it. Leave some space, and then once we're done with it, I'll go back, and then you can write them in later if you want. I want to make sure we get through all the examples, and then the writing can be done later. Okay? So right here it says Mike can paint a wall in 30 minutes. Stacy can paint it in 20 minutes. How long would it take to paint the wall together? So remember, our formula is this: T equals xy over x plus y. So I need to know what x is, what y is, or what t is, depending on what they give me. So I know they say Mike, it takes him 30 minutes, so I'll let x equal to 30 minutes. And then they say Stacy painted in 20, so I'll let y equal to 20 minutes. So all I got to do is plug it in, solve for t, right? The together time. So t is equal to 30 times 20 over 30 plus 20. So that's 600 divided by 50. Okay? So I know I can cancel out zeros, because it's like dividing by 10. I can cancel those out. 60 divided by 5, that's 12. So it takes them 12 minutes. Okay, 12 minutes together. No, it's because my measurement is in minutes. Just one wall, not all the walls, but just one wall. Some people can do it really quick, especially when you're fast. Experienced painters can do it pretty quick. Especially if they have that little gun, they can do it in like 5 minutes. If you're using a roller, you can do it pretty quick. So, we okay with that one? Pretty straightforward, right? This is the easier one, right? The one where they give you x and y, and you just plug it in, and you get your t-value, and you're done. You might need a calculator, because the numbers may not match up nicely, but just use your calculator to do it. All right, here's the next one. Again, to write down the question, I'll come back to it at the end. Okay, so leave yourself a little space. Here's another one. This is what I'm saying, like I don't want you guys to write it down right now. Let's just do the work first. So Toby can eat super nachos in 10 minutes. Together, Toby and Sarah can eat the nachos in 8 minutes. How long does it take Sarah to eat the super nacho? Right, so Toby can eat the super nachos in 10 minutes. Together, they can do it in 8 minutes. How long does it take Sarah? So again, the formula does not change. This is still the formula. But the information I got is different. I'll say x is 10 minutes for that. That's for Toby, okay? But now the 8 minutes is not y, that's t. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in and then solve. So let's see, t is 8, x is 10, so that's 10y, 10 plus y. And then you're supposed to cross multiply here, okay? So I'm going to put it over 1. I'm going to cross multiply. So that gives me 8 times 10 plus y equals to 10y. I'll distribute. That's 80 plus 8y equals to 10y. Okay. So I got to get my y values together, so I'm going to move the 8y over to the right side. So when I do that, it becomes negative. So 10y minus 8y, that's 2y, is equal to 80. So if I divide both sides by 2, I get 40 minutes. So Toby can do it in 10, Sarah does it in 40. Either Toby's really going to work and Sarah's taking the time. I don't know. But there you go, 40 minutes. So somebody can do it in 10 and you can do it in 40. Together you're doing 8. Okay? Are we okay with this one? So hopefully these problems haven't really like hung you up and they're not too hard. But I would say the first two sections, 5:10 and 5:6, would be pretty easy, right? Not too hard. Now we're going to move on to yesterday's, right? Say it again. Hold on. All right. And by the way, the assignment that you were talking about is this one. This is the one that's on quizzes, the one with working together stuff. All right, so here we go. Now, a question like this you can do on your calculator. I don't have my calculator out with me, so I'm just going to do it by hand. But you can easily just type in square root of 60, and it should give you 2 radical 15. Okay? But if you don't have a calculator, here's how you do it. You're going to try to find two numbers that multiply to 60. I like to go in order, so you'll see me always start with 1 and 60. And try to find two numbers that multiply to 60, and hopefully one of those numbers has a square root. Okay, so let's see. 2 times 30, no square roots. 3 times 20, no square roots. Right? What is the next one? 4 times 15. Yes, 4 has a square root. Is there anything else? 4, well, 5 goes in times 12, right? Yeah. 5 times 12, no square roots. 6 times 10, also no square roots. And that's it. Those are all my options. All right? The only option that has a square root is right here. So that's what I'm going to use. So this becomes square root of 4 times 15. What's the square root of 4? 2. So it's 2 radical 15, and I'm done. Okay? So that one's good. And again, if you have a calculator, it'll spit that out. If you can put in the calculator, go ahead. There's going to be some that may not work. So yeah, if you can do it in the calculator, do it. The only reason why I tell you guys and I show you this is because some of you guys have calculators that can't do this. When you put square root of 60, it throws out like, I don't know, 30, 15 would be about 3. So it throws out like 6.8375. And that's not what I want. I don't want any decimals. When you guys are doing this, no decimals. Okay? So you're going to have to give it to me in factored out form, right? So 2 radical 15. If you just give me decimals, that means that you're not doing it right. I need to know the exact simplified answer. Because the decimal is not simplified, it's approximated. And that's not really simplified. All right, part B. We got 2 more, okay? This one right here. So if you try this on the calculators, those new ones, it's not going to give you the right answer. It's going to give you something in decimal form. It only gives you a clean answer with square roots, never cube roots. So you're going to have to do this by yourself. Okay? Now, remember that I gave you guys, I'm just going to use 48 right now, not negative, but I'll use 40. Well, I'll use negative 48. That's fine. I gave you guys numbers to focus on when it comes to cube roots, okay? I said, see if you can divide by 1, by 8, by 27, 64, and I'm going to add one more, 125. We found out yesterday that's actually a good option too, right? Those numbers, 1, 8, 27, 64, and 125, those have cube roots. The cube root of 1 is 1, the cube root of 8 is 2, the cube root of 27 is 3, right? Cube root of 64 is 4, the cube root of 125 is 5. So those are the numbers I want you to focus on when you break down like 48. So 1 times 48, I use it because 1 has a cube root, but that never helps. 1 never helps. Okay. So the next option is 8. 8 times what is 48? 6. So give the negative to the one that has the cubed root. Okay? Because if you put the cubed root of -8 on your calculator, it will spit out a -2. If you put in the cubed root of -48, it may not spit out the answer. But if you do the cubed root of -8, it'll give you -2. Okay? You can have negatives inside of radicals if the index is odd. So a 3, a 5, a 7. You can do that. So I'm going to rewrite this problem right now. I'm going to use this. So cubed root of -8 times 6. If you put this in your calculator, cubed root of -8, it spits out -2. And there is no cubed root to 6, so we're done. Yeah, something like this, your calculator will not do. It'll do a little bit of it. It can do the cube root of -8. But I don't think it can do the cube root of -48. It can do the square root of 48. It can do that. That's, 4 radical 3. It can do that for you. It's -2 cubed root. So the little 3 is on, it's supposed to be like right, like this line is supposed to kind of like point at it. So it's saying like it's right there, cubed root of. Yeah, it does kind of look like -2 to the third, but it's cubed root of. The cubed root just tells you how many things you need inside the radical. So like if I had like cubed root of 125, it's basically saying, is there a way that you can write this as 3 things? And I can, 5, 5, and 5. That's 125. So therefore all of these go out, and your answer is just 5. So the little index tells you what you're looking for. So like a square root, even though you don't see it, it really has a 2 there. So whenever you do square root of 81, the reason why it's 9 is because 81 is 9 times 9. It's a pair of numbers that are identical. So that's why they come out. If it was like a 4th root, you'd be looking for 4 of a kind. So 2, 2, 2, and 2. So the 4th root of 16 is 2 because 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. So yeah, the index tells you how many pieces you need to match up. And that also works with letters. So if it's like cubed root of y to the 5th, you can take out 3 of those y's because it has 5 of them. So we're going to do something like that right now. But yeah, the index tells you everything. So notice this is a square root, which means I'm looking for pairs of things, right? Y squared, x squared, or some way to write 40, as something squared. That 3 in the very front does not mean cubed, but notice it's too big. That means there's a 3 in the front, so 3 times that. Okay? So we're going to always, I always start off with my numbers, but I'm also going to deal with my letters at the same time, but not fully, just a little bit. So I'm going to put 40 here, and I'm going to start thinking of my factors, right? 1 times 40, which never matters. 1 I never use, okay? 2 times 20. 3 doesn't go into it. 4 times 10. And 5 times 8. And that's about it, right? Those are all my factors for 40. Which one has a square root? 4 and the 10, right? 5 and 8 doesn't really, but it kind of does because the 8 has a square you can bring out of it. But the one that straight out has one is 4 and 10. I'm going to use that one. So look what I'm going to do. I'm going to put equals to 3 square root of 4 times 10. Remember I told you I'm going to work on it a little bit. See, remember, what's my index on a square root? A 2. Even though you don't see it, there's a 2 there, right? There's a little 2 right there. Even though we don't write it, but it's there. That means I got to write things as squares if they have power. So you see that x cubed? That's x squared x. That's x cubed. And y to the 4th? Y squared, y squared. So let me just highlight this really quick just so we can do that on our next step. The ones that have powers of 2, those letters are going to come out. Okay? So there'll be an x that comes out, a y, and another y. Okay, so 2 y's will come out, 1 x will come out. So here we go. I'm going to draw arrows so you can see what's coming out. Okay, this 4 is going to come out. This x is going to come out. This y and this y as well. All of that's coming out. So it's going to look a little messy, but let me write it out without multiplying anything. It should look like this: 3 times the square root of 4 is 2, and then x, y, y. Okay? By the way, if you're wondering where the heck's that 3 from, the one in the very front, it was already there. Okay? So the 2x, y came out. Square root of, and what's left over? 10x, right? So there you go. Now just multiply it out. That's 6xy squared radical 10x. And this will be your answer. And this is what we have for your review.